Hi! I am checking in to do the Racing to Read book tag. It's still the reading rush. I have read a lot of books this week, so I can get back to doing productive things and more reading. I'm just gonna fly through this tag. So it is made up of, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions. Let's do it. First up is Warm Up, a book that stretches your mind. So for this one, I would choose All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. I just read this a couple of days ago for the read-a-thon, and I will say, just in of itself, being a memoir of a Black queer man that already is different from my perspective of the world as a straight white woman, but otherwise there are also other things in here that I would deem as something kind of stretching my mind to look at someone else's perspective on the world. A lot of the media that I have consumed over the years that deals with LGBTQ plus individuals, which sometimes is about real people, but most of the time is fictionalized and honestly not always that well represented depending on what the media is. 90s television, I'm looking at you. But I would say for the most part, I have not consumed a lot of media that has a person of color who is also happens to be an LGBTQ plus person, so that is also a different perspective than what I'm used to seeing. And he also makes some great points in here. He has a chapter that is dedicated to talking about the education system, and the education system that he had growing up here in the US, which is not always it doesn't always represent people who are not white. We do have Black History Month, but a lot of the times it's just kind of half-heartedly done, and even then it only discusses very certain people, and the rest of the time just focuses on the white founders of America and kind of grazes over anyone else who was also intricate in forming our country. So yeah, that's what I say for this. I would say this gives some good points and a good perspective that differs from my own. So yes. Next up on the questions is a book that you started but never finished. For this one, so I have several books that I've started and have not finished. I think I've went over them in a video before. I have big shame when it comes to books that I just haven't managed to finish yet. There's a lot that are sitting on my nightstand right now. But the one I am most ashamed about at the moment that I have not finished yet is Wondersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow. I am still on page 157, where I've been since, when did I start this? March? April? I don't even remember anymore. But I really, really need to finish reading this. Next question is a sprint. A book that you read really quickly. So this week I have read a lot of books very quickly, but the one I finished in the least amount of time, I believe, would be Wishful Drinking by Carrie Fisher. I read this the other day. Just kind of picked it up as an extra nonfiction book to kind of supplement my reading, make it like reach 7. And yeah, I finished this in like 2 hours, I think. So yeah. Next up is Marathon. What is your favorite long book? So for this one, other than a certain magical series, I would say my favorite long book would be The Shining by Stephen King. This is a chunky little boy, and it comes in at 659 pages. Next up is Hurdles, a book that had ups and downs. So for this one, I chose The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. A lot of this writing is beautiful, and it really explores mother-daughter relationships, which at times is very heartwarming. There's also a lot to do about memories, and there's funny parts in here as well, but then there's also the fractured side of mother-daughter relationships and dealing with familial expectations, and the sometimes dark childhoods some of the mothers in the book had, and the hard times that they had that led to them immigrating to the U.S. and what they dealt with coming to the U.S. So it's, yeah, there are a lot of ups and downs in this book, but it still is very beautiful. Next up is Finish Line, a book that you were proud to finish. So for this, I chose Silas Marner by George Eliot. I had been wanting to read this book since I was a little kid, and I watched the Wishbone episode, which is where I get most of the classics I've ever wanted to read, to be honest. But this, while honestly it's not really that long of a book, like, this is an edition with 2 short stories in it, which honestly I have not read. But the book itself is like truly not incredibly long. Like, this is just the book right here, but it took me a long time to get through because while it is a cute story, frankly, it's kind of boring. So yeah, I was proud that I finally read it. Next up is Gold Medal, the best book read during a read-a-thon. I've only participated in a couple of read-a-thons before this one, and they were before I started this channel. But I would say for this particular read-a-thon, my favorite books that I have read in it would have to be a tie between Black Klansman by Ron Stallworth and The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. These were both absolutely phenomenal, and I loved them so much for different reasons, but I had a wonderful time reading them. And the last question is Participation Ribbon, an underrated book that you wish got more attention. So for this one, I chose Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. This, I believe, has been out for a couple of years now, and I do remember seeing it recommended first on someone's channel. I can't remember honestly whose channel it was that I saw it recommended on, but I did see a recommendation for it. But other than that, and then seeing it for sale on an online book store website, I have not heard. I'm sorry, my computer, people need to stop texting me. But yeah, other than that recommendation, I have not seen a lot of hype about this book, which is kind of sad. I mean, maybe I'm not in the right circle to hear more hype about it, but I feel like people should be talking about this book a lot more. It's like heartbreaking and heartwarming and just the right amount of unsettling, and the descriptions are beautiful and transportive, and the characters are quirky, and it's such a great book. And I mean, I believe there is a sequel that is coming out or has just come out, and I believe there's going to be 4 books in this series based on each season, which is awesome. But yeah, I just love this. I want everybody to read this. I want to recommend this to so many people, and I honestly kind of want this to be made into like a movie or a mini series or something. It's so good. But so that is it for this book tag. I have to go finish reading and fix these shelves finally, so I'm gonna go and do that. I hope that if you are participating in the read-a-thon, you have been having a wonderful time and reaching your goals, whatever they are within that. And if you're not, I hope you're having a great weekend. Bye, guys.